We have released research that shows that you only really need to be posting 4 times a week. The algorithm really is just prioritizing those content pieces that are purposeful, driven, and knowledgeable. This is a way of amplifying that reach and utilizing word of mouth, but on LinkedIn.
What are some clients that are absolutely nailing it on LinkedIn?
Canva, for me, are just really doing well. And I think the reason that they do so well is because they know their audience. They know their brand DNA as well. And they know how to create content that has fun, creative flair, really has the same look and feel and is synonymous across the board, but individually calls out their audience groups.
What is one thing that you think that helps keeps a business or a brand or an individual top of mind?
Authenticity. Having your content go out that is really intrinsic to you as an individual is just so key, because if it doesn't feel like it is from the individual, if it feels automated, if it feels robotic, that's not going to get anywhere.
Now I'm going to get straight into the juicy question, right? I think one thing that people talk about all the time when it comes to any social media platform is the algorithm. And one thing we hear all the time is, oh, the algorithm's fucking up my content. So I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. What is the LinkedIn algorithm? Like, what does it prioritize?
Okay, so the truth is,
Kathryn, welcome to Top of Mind. It is absolutely no secret that LinkedIn is my favourite platform. Everybody that sees me on a daily basis or a weekly basis will vouch for me on that. And I'm super excited because you obviously work at LinkedIn.
I do.
So I'm excited for you to be joining me to answer all of the questions that I have, but also all of our clients have about LinkedIn. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. And yeah, absolutely on board the LinkedIn train as well. Work there, but also love everything it stands for too. So happy to talk all things and everything's LinkedIn.
I love it. Now I'm going to get straight into the juicy question, right? I think one thing that people talk about all the time when it comes to any social media platform is the algorithm. And one thing we hear all the time is, oh, the algorithm's fucking up my content. It's the reason that I can't, get the traction that I need, or I can't grow, blah, blah, blah. So I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. What is the LinkedIn algorithm? Like, what does it prioritize? How can people leverage it, and how can people use it to their advantage?
Okay, so the truth is, I don't fully know either. I know it's not the answer that you were hoping for, but essentially the algorithm is only really known to our engineers. It's a little secret that stays with them. They're constantly working on it, evolving it so it is in the members' best interest. Obviously, we're a members' first platform predominantly. So everything that the algorithm does, I promise you, is in your best interest and isn't trying to mess up any content routines or schedules. When they speak like that, I say, well, I mean, it's like the universe as well, right? It's the universe's fault. It's the algorithm. But there are ways in which we know the algorithm does sort of work and the content that it does prioritize. So those are the things that I am privy to. That's inner workings. All sit with our engineering team, who are a wonderful bunch of people, but it's all just known to them. So I think what is important to note is that the algorithm does constantly change. And like I say, this is because it is putting the members first, and we want to have content that's super relevant to them and isn't going to sort of disrupt their feed too much, but is going to be sort of enriched in knowledge, value, insights, learning, whatever it may be. And so what we actually did was we started to survey our members and really understand what their likes and dislikes are about the platform. And so, not too shocking, during COVID, which now feels like a million years ago, thank God. But during COVID, we did see a bit of a shift in terms of the content that was on the platform. We'll have all seen it. People were sharing sort of, I guess, breakfast updates, like what they did with their family at the weekend. And like, yeah, that's lovely content, but I think there's other platforms for that type of content. And when we surveyed our members, they actually said that they didn't really align with that type of content. It wasn't the most valuable to them. What was valuable to them was content that was sharing knowledge, teaching them something new, connecting them to people or, I guess, opportunities as well. And so we shifted the algorithm. How we did that, again, I don't know. Magic, I assume. But we shifted it, and now it's meant that we've had 80% less sort of rebuttal, I suppose, towards the algorithm and its feedback. So hopefully when these people do say those things to you, you can be like, look, this is in your interest in the long run.
Look, and I also think 9 times out of 10 when people are blaming the algorithm, like it's the
post
usually
didn't work. It wasn't good content.
Shit, right?
Yes.
I think so. To that point, then, given that you don't know the algorithm, what is it that LinkedIn is prioritizing? Like, is there something that, like, as a user, I can be posting types of content or topics of content that is going to land better with the algorithm or the platform, so to speak?
Yeah, so I think any content that really has a strong purpose, and so that could be from a brand perspective, it could be from a product perspective, service, talent, community, whatever it may be, as long as it's enriched in this sort of knowledge and purpose, then it's going to be more prioritized by the algorithm. So for example, if you are a marketing professional, for example, and you create a post all about how to market in a B2B world, that is going to be seen by the algorithm, ingested by it, and then put onto the feeds of people who are within that sort of marketing industry. Now, we know that based on their profile demographics, what they've been engaging with content-wise, who their connections are, first party, second party, whatever that looks like. And so the algorithm goes, okay, cool, this is a really good piece of informative, knowledgeable content. Let me put it out to other marketing professionals by that sort of first or second party degree connection. What happens then is you or I might come across it, we might like it, you might engage with it again, and then it creates more of a conversation amongst marketing professionals, and then its reach goes further. So the algorithm really is just prioritizing those content pieces that are purposeful, driven, and knowledgeable.
If you love this episode, help us to grow and reach more people by hitting the subscribe button and leaving a review.
So then would you say that the content, the actual substance of the content. So, for example, if I've put up a post about B2B marketing, does LinkedIn take the keywords from that content and go, cool, I'm going to put this, if I've got an audience full of people that are interested in B2B marketing, does it then go, this person's interested in B2B marketing and there's B2B marketing in this post, therefore I'm going to show it to them?
It's more likely to be put in front of them based on those keywords. Now, it's not like it's not like an SEO platform. Who knows? I mean, I don't know if that's coming, but you never know. But it is based on those behaviors, audience behaviors. So if they've been previously engaging in content around B2B marketing, then they know categorically this person's more likely to resonate and enjoy this content too. We do also, in terms of the algorithm, you can obviously use hashtags. Don't use too many because...
Where's the fine line when it comes to hashtags? Because I feel like we went through a phase where, when I started in the industry, it was like, use as many hashtags as possible. Hashtags is the way to get exposure. Then it went to don't use any. And then now it's like this fine balance depending on which platform you're on.
Yeah.
So where does LinkedIn sit on hashtags?
Yeah, well, essentially the best practice would be 1 to 3.
Okay. Interesting.
So not too many, enough to make it relevant. You can do more brand-specific hashtags or you can do sort of wider initiative global hashtags as well. One of the features that we've recently launched as well is that you can actually subscribe to hashtags. So therefore, if you subscribe to one hashtag, then you're going to get more content that's around that hashtag or utilizes that hashtag on your feed. So that's a really good way of personalizing your feed, I guess, and making it more relevant to you. Amazing. But yeah, use 1 to 3 because I think sometimes we see people and they've used about 10 and it's just like, where are we at with this? And I used to do it too. When I was first on Instagram, I looked at some of my posts and I'd be like, hashtag girl, hashtag blonde, hashtag whatever I was doing. It was literally every single word. And that doesn't have a place anymore in marketing strategies, but highly relevant, easily replicated hashtags as well will gain more momentum and traction. And if you can subscribe to them, even better.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's. I suppose that's the best practice with hashtags. And then with that as well, the algorithm won't pick it up as spam because it will see it's informative. It's not just hashtagging for the sake of it. It's, this is relevant to the content that I'm putting out there. Put it to the relevant people as well.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And I think that's one thing, that's one rule that we use all the time with hashtags is like making sure it's specific to the piece of content that you're uploading. Because, if I put girl as a hashtag and they click on it and it's not a girl or there's no girl, then that first impression of, okay, I've engaged with Hayley's content, she's hashtag girl, but there's no girl in the photo or there's no girl in the content. The next time I see a post from that person that's hashtagged all of those things.
Well, it discredits there. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm not going to trust that what they've put there is actually working. So, yeah, we always say that from a I suppose, authenticity and like reliability point of view, making sure those hashtags talk to the type of content that you're creating.
Exactly. And context is key as well, right?
Yep.
I think I've been brand side before as well. And sometimes you can be really in the weeds at your own company and think that this hashtag is like amazing and wonderful, but there's no context to the wider audience there. And so if it's this really convoluted or maybe abstract hashtag, people aren't going to understand what that is, even if it is part of your marketing campaign. Unless you've done a lot of sort of awareness on that campaign, it needs to have a bit more context that is relevant to a sort of, I guess, wider stream of content, not just that one specific piece.
Totally. My last question, I think, about the algorithm / I know that you don't know the answer to the algorithm specifically, but one thing that I've found, you know, I've been posting consistently on LinkedIn for about 5 years, right? Mm-hmm. When I found that there were platforms that allowed me to like schedule my posts and things like that. Now, I know LinkedIn allows you to schedule your content in advance now, but when I started doing it, it didn't. One thing that I really noticed is that when I use a scheduling tool to schedule my to schedule my posts, the post would get less exposure, even though I posted at the same time every day, versus me posting authentically on the platform. Do you know if there's anything that currently goes and prioritizes content that's being posted directly on the platform versus scheduling tools?
No, not at the moment. I think we're completely embracive of scheduling tools because people have busy schedules. So it's important to be able to prioritize and be proactive, I suppose, with content, not just reactive. But as far as the algorithm goes, as long as the look and feel of the post is still what you could post in a moment versus what you could post in an hour, for example, it should be treated the exact same way because it's reviewed on post, not on plan.
Right. And I think obviously now with the scheduling capabilities LinkedIn has.
We'd be cutting our nose off to spite our face, right? So
totally.
It can't do that. So yeah, especially now with that advancement, then no, that's nothing to worry about.
Interesting.
I think.
Who knows? Maybe I need a LinkedIn engineer on here and we can deep dive with them as well. Oh my gosh.
You might have to fly to the US for that. But
that's okay. We'll make it work.
Yay.
Now, there is over 1 billion people on LinkedIn at the moment, which is crazy, wild. Yet we spoke about this before and we've had lengthy conversations about this. Not a lot of people see it as a social network. They see it either as a job searching tool or as somewhere that they can kind of stalk what's happening with, you know, people within their teams or, you know, people that they've worked with previously. What is the opportunity for people that are creating content consistently on this platform? And when I say consistently, I don't just mean like every day. I mean just turning up like every week, sharing 1 or 2 posts. What is a benefit for somebody that is going to do that? Yeah,
well, I think firstly, you are completely right in the sense of we're quite multifaceted at LinkedIn. We've got different pillars of our business and we really are sort of uniquely positioned in the ecosystem of platforms that we have got talent services, we have got sales solutions and marketing solutions, which kind of sits more on that content side. So we aren't just predominantly a social media platform. There's a bit more in terms of our offerings there. So not everybody is going to be posting all the time just because that's not our only sole use is to be a social media platform. That is just one wonderful benefit of the platform, I suppose. So that's maybe one of the reasons. The people that are showing up, I think it's really important to start establishing and thinking about brand voice, thinking about your own professional networks, goals, career opportunities, learning opportunities. There's so much benefit to being present on the platform. And I think, you know, even just, as you say, showing up, you can learn so much when you come onto the platform. Our members always, when we're reviewing them as well, we have data that shows that they've got this intent mindset. So they want to learn, they want to upskill, they want to connect. And so if you can be present, you can sort of establish a voice there. And who knows what sort of opportunities it may unlock. So I think, you know, you're rewarded when you are consistent in the sense of you don't have to post every day. We've sort of released. We have released research that shows that you only really need to be posting 4 times a week. I say only really. That might feel a huge effort for some people.
Posting at all.
But once a week is enough. And I think it speaks to the tenure of your content as well, really, or what are you trying to sort of talk about? And I think that's what's important there. So if it can be valuable, it's relevant, then post once a week or whenever you want to. I wouldn't say post for the sake of posting. Yeah. That's not going to be rewarded because your authenticity isn't going to be able to shine through if you're just constantly scrambling to create more content. It's not going to be as compelling for your audience, and your message might get blurred. And I think every time you are posting, what is it that you want your audience to see, feel, think, do when they're engaging with this? And then the content will be rewarded in itself on a post by post basis rather than frequency for the sake of frequency.
Totally. I think that's one thing that I love about LinkedIn is that as a social platform, it does reward the dwell time. It does reward the conversations. It rewards that engagement. You know, we say all the time, it's like instead of resharing something, comment on it because your community will see it anyway in the way in which the algorithm works.
Whatever it is.
The universe. The way in which it works, if I comment on a post versus resharing it, they'll reward that engagement versus just resharing the same piece of content. Now, a lot of the times we're met with, I'm scared to post on LinkedIn because it's a professional platform.
Yeah.
And there's my peers there professionally. Now, they're more than happy to post their bikini pictures on Instagram and all of that. But when it comes to posting, what they talk about every single day for work, they're terrified.
Yeah.
What are you seeing that people are most scared about being on LinkedIn?
I think it's just the fear to click initially, right? It's just that building up your own professional persona and really putting that out there for people to view and essentially measure. I was thinking about this earlier and I was like, there's never really been a capacity in which I have been measured on my career or professional performance, unless it's in sort of one-to-one with my manager within the sphere of my company.
Yeah.
So putting myself out there in that capacity to be like, hi, I'm a professional, feels maybe a little bit more daunting because we've grown up on the internet and understood ourselves as individuals within that sort of group or platform, so to speak. It's really easy to share what we had for breakfast or, like you say, the bikini uploads. We've all done it. But God forbid I tell you that I've got the credentials to be telling you what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Like that's where it feels a bit alien. And, we actually have been recognizing that a lot more at LinkedIn as well. And we're trying to sort of bridge the gap. We really want people to understand that their strengths are their sort of unique accolades, their storytelling of themselves and their careers. And so that fear to click or post, so to speak, we've actually labeled it imposter syndrome.
Oh, I love that.
So LinkedIn, obviously, imposter syndrome, had a baby, and it's now imposter syndrome.
I love it.
And I think it's great, and I think it's really important. And I think people have that kind of, I don't know what to say, but it's like you've all got your background, you've all got your history, you've got a profile on the platform, which tells me that you are a professional on a professional network. Yep. Professional doesn't have to be, oh my God, I'm this really serious business individual, because God forbid I am not.
Neither.
I just couldn't be. It doesn't work for me. But I am absolutely hired to do a role. I do that role well. I enjoy what I do. I've got, education behind me. I've got learning opportunities that I want to share. Therefore, I am a professional.
Totally.
So it's just sort of understanding and sort of taking an introspective look at yourself to be like, well, what are my USPs in terms of like my professional qualities and how can I showcase these? And no one can take that away from you. There's no right or wrong there because it's your history, your background, your experience. So you can post about that. But I think, yes, it can be daunting. And I think the only way I essentially think just start doing it because that's the only way to really get through it, right? Is to just put something up.
Just start.
It's that fear of judgment, right? We don't want people to think like, oh my God. But to be honest, I'd rather people judged me on something that I am a professional about and I understand and I know and I really believe and I back. Fine, have a conversation with me about it. Judge me if you want to, because that sparks more curiosity, that sparks more conversation, and that's super important. What I say might not be fact, but it might be something that's interesting to somebody else. And so you never know what that could then lead to. So, judge away, have a conversation with me. And I welcome it. And hopefully we'll be moving more into that as the generations go. We're seeing a lot more with Gen Z being super transparent. They're not afraid to post. So I really think this is a generational challenge in terms of the millennial space.
absolutely. And I think that's a really kind of important point I want to focus on is around there's a lot of people that, you know, feel as though, take your point of what you've said before around, you know, they're used to being, you know, reviewed or having their performance judged or critiqued in a workplace.
Yeah.
4 walls. You're like, you know, everybody that works here. Yeah. You're dealing with your boss. But then when you're put in an external environment where there are other people that do your job on there are other people that might know more than you about a particular subject matter. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions is that people think that they have to be an expert to be on this platform.
No. Yeah.
And it's like, I'm an expert in my own experience, right?
Exactly.
Am I an HR expert? Absolutely not. But can I tell you about all of the shit places that I've worked and how they've done X, Y, and Z wrong? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because they were my experiences.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's a really valid point to raise is that in your own workplace environment, you have the safety of the 4 walls. You know your boss, you know your manager, you know their personalities, you know what they might say. Whereas in an environment where there are other people that do a similar job to you that potentially have the opportunity to weigh in on a situation that you're talking about because they've also got experience in that, it can be quite scary.
It can be quite scary. But I would also add to that, yes, there are going to be individuals in these industries that can weigh in, but they might not view or may not have absorbed a topic the way that you have.
Totally.
Everyone learns differently and everyone engages with content differently as well. So what works for me and captures my attention on the platform may not work for you and may not capture your attention. Yeah. And so the type of content I produce might just be more specific to people that sort of think in the similar way to which I do. And, you know, we've got so many wonderful members on the platform, so many different and diversified brains as well that, you know, you're creating content, it's going to resonate with somebody. And so whether you're professional or extraordinarily experienced or not, it's still going to speak to somebody at a level that they're able to digest and engage with. So it's still going to be worthwhile.
Totally, totally. And I think to kind of round out that algorithm chat, it's not the algorithm, what's working on the platform? What are you seeing that's really working on the platform that we can implement with our clients or people that are listening to this can start to implement if they are on LinkedIn?
I think overall as a theme, authenticity. Yeah. So transparency behind brands, origin stories of how they've come into fruition, behind the scenes when they are creating these amazing marketing campaigns or even creating the products, what that looks like. Give us a glimpse as to how this has actually been made. What did it take? And then also heroing the people that are part of that brand. We're seeing huge amounts of engagement in the content from the people behind the businesses. So something that we're seeing that's working really well at the moment is thought leadership. Now, this is something I love talking about. I think it's super important that people all feel like they're empowered to have a voice, external or on the platform, whatever it may be. And thought leadership is really sort of upping in terms of importance and relevance when it comes to communications of companies on the platform. So we've seen with thought leadership that there's opportunities now in the form of thought leader ads. I don't know if you've seen this. So this is a marketing solution. Yeah. Little plug. But you can, for example, for Gambit Collective, you could have one of your employees post something. Now, you might know that you want to reach, you know, X marketers who specialize in Y, for example. Yeah. And we could say, okay, we're going to take that post and we're going to plug it out to them. So using the first party data, we can really optimize your employees' content to reach a really relevant audience set. So it means it's going to also go organically, wonderful, but it can be also extremely strategic and targeted to these individuals. So a trend we're seeing is businesses uptaking this opportunity, utilizing their employees as part of advocacy and brand authenticity to really hero and champion, again, product, service, or just general brand as well. And this is actually being rolled out at the end of the month, or end of March, I believe. Sorry, I'm in the present now. Where have I gone? So this was rolled out at the end of March, and now we can actually do it via first and second party connections too. Okay. So for example, you've got a client that you've been working with, you've loved the work that you've been doing with them, they've loved the work that they've been doing with you. Yep. You can actually promote out their content to a targeted audience as well. So it's very interesting. And that is really what's working well at the moment in terms of thought leadership and that capacity. Yep. in terms of content itself, what's resonated or what's sort of deemed as thumb-stopping content, video probably comes as no surprise. Yeah. And this can be in any format. So this could be like the thought leadership video that I was speaking about, talking to camera. We all know that I'm terrible at that. We've discussed that. I can't do that, but I can share other things.
You'll have so much content.
I've got content now. I will be doing that now. Yes. But, you know, in terms of that thought leadership content, video does work really well. Human to human, word of mouth, expanding it digitally. That's perfect. Video in general is our most engaged with format. And it's because it's high dwell time. So it captures your attention. It forces you to watch for longer. Short form is probably prioritized more than long form. So 7 seconds to 30 seconds is like ideal. And if you can capture attention in the first 9 seconds, you're gold. Essentially, that means that people are going to have a stronger affinity towards your company or your individual persona, whatever you're doing, if you can capture their attention in the first 9 seconds.
Well, I think there was a stat that I saw that was like humans have now been proven to have less of an attention span than goldfish.
Yeah, not surprised.
Neither. But I'm like, wow, like we're incredibly smart comparatively to goldfish, but like we still have such a low attention span. I think to that point as well around video, it helps build trust because there's so many people, and I've seen it, where they'll put out these LinkedIn posts and they'll be like, these are all the things, these are the people that I'm highlighting. These are the, you know, the people that I'm celebrating and they're really good at their jobs. Then when you meet them in person, they're an asshole. Do you know what I mean? And not only does it talk to the fact that you have to be the same person online as you are in real life.
Yes.
But I think that video really helps and highlights that, you know, if you are trying to be something that you're not, it becomes really evident in video. Yeah,
you can see if someone's being disingenuous. You can just absolutely smell it a mile off. And so, yes, it promotes authenticity and I guess encourages that too. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, video as a format is taking off. And I think we'll probably see maybe moving forward with video as well, sort of more, I think it's lo-fi production.
Yep.
So like the behind the scenes content, iPhone content, those sorts of things. Because it's easy, quick, capture it, pop it on the platform. It's easy to do. But it also, like you say, it just creates those human connecting points, which is so important to the sort of strength or the results in which you're seeing your content perform.
I think that's so, I could dive into video on social platforms so deeply. I mean, we worked with a couple of different businesses where like their leaders couldn't even sit and talk in an interview style without a script in front of them. And for me, like quite honestly, those people shouldn't be leading the business. Because if you can't sit and have a conversation with somebody that, you know, it's not a confrontational conversation. It's a conversation about what you do Monday to Friday every single day. And you can't. I get sometimes the people are nervous and they need to have a script.
Maybe is it because it's the camera in front of them and it's more an environmental thing?
But it's a conversation. So the camera is over the shoulder. So it's not like speaking to camera because I know how hard that is. Like my first episode that I did was on my own. And I was like, I said to the boys here, I was like, why is this so difficult? Like I can talk in front of an iPhone camera, no problems. I can talk about absolutely nothing for hours. But a camera is different. But I think it does also talk to the fact that like if you can't genuinely talk about the things that you're talking about online in a conversation, it then proves that kind of misalignment with who you think you are or who you want to be turning up as versus who you actually are. And I think the sooner people can lean into that kind of authentic, like, yes, I swear, you will never catch me not swearing. Like, I also think it makes me relatable.
Makes you you.
Yeah. And people know that. My team know that. Like the clients that I work with know that. I'm not effing and blinding every single minute, but I will throw a swear word in there where appropriate, right? And I think that it was actually really funny. I had a talk for a very well-known financial institution I was invited to do. And I sent them my slides and I had a swear word in one of the slides. It said, fuck professionalism.
God forbid.
Said, you need to take that out. And I said, why? Like, and I was paid a lot of money for this talk. And I said to them, actually, like, if I can't be myself up there,
There's no point in you being
not
there.
coming.
Yeah.
Like, you can find somebody else.
Yeah.
And they came to the party and they were like, oh, okay, well, we'll try it. But like, maybe if you can remove it from the slide, but you can say it so that like if we do share. And I was like, okay, we can compromise. But like, I'm not taking it out of what I talk about.
And did you say it?
I said it. Absolutely. I said it. Absolutely. I said it. But I think that it ties back to being authentically yourself. And I think that there's a big difference between being authentic and being vulnerable.
Yes, hugely. And people aren't comfortable being vulnerable.
No.
Not everybody. Some people are, and that's amazing. And I love that. And I think as a society, we need to get a little bit more comfortable being uncomfortable at times. You know, that's one of those things. I think to that authenticity piece, that leads into the brand DNA, right? And this is, again, a lovely subject for me. I just love it. I love it because I think it's so important. I think it's so easily missed as well, which is such a shame. And so I think for companies or individuals to be really successful on LinkedIn, they need to understand their brand DNA. Yeah. So the brand DNA, if you can imagine it, is an intersection between who you are when you show up to your employees, who you are when you show up to your investors perhaps, and who you are when you show up to your customers. Yeah. Now, you want that tone of voice, that look and feel to your content, anything associated with your content and communications to be absolutely synonymous to your brand DNA. You want to know that it flows in the same way, regardless of which audience demographic you're going after. You want to know that it's your content and nobody else's, because then when they come into contact with it in different stages of their journeys, one day they might be an employee, one day they could be an investor, or they could move along and they could be a future customer for you. So you want to make sure that you really hone in on your brand DNA, understand what that is, and then let that inform the rest of your strategy.
Yeah, I love that. I think going back to that point around authenticity versus vulnerability, I think the way in which I look at it, because, you know, we have so many clients that are like, well, I don't want to tell them my life story on LinkedIn. And I'm like, you shouldn't. But being authentic is just being you, right? Like showing up as yourself. Being vulnerable is sharing information that could be used against you.
Yeah.
Is the way that I like to look at it, right? And it's like, we're not asking you to be like, hey, tell us that you went into debt at 20 years old or you took 4 credit cards out.
Tell us your most traumatic story ever.
Tell us, you know, your childhood trauma. Like, I don't want to know that, but I want you to show up as yourself. And I don't want you to try to be someone that you're not.
Yeah. And people see through that. And I think at least that makes them comfortable enough to create something and still be able to share a story in a way that feels good to them.
Yeah. Now, we spoke about it on the live episode, which is episode 3.
Yes.
Because you joined our live episode, which was very fun. We spoke about, obviously, a lot of people see LinkedIn as a B2B platform, so business to business. We know that there are people on there that are B2C, so business to consumer or business to customer. And for me, the question that I have is more around, you work with a lot of different clients on a day-to-day basis, B2B, B2C. What are you seeing that is the through line between these two clients that allows them to build their brand on LinkedIn? Like, what are the things that they're doing well, that they're both doing, that allows them to build their brand successfully on a platform like LinkedIn?
Yeah. Well, first of all, showing up.
Yeah. Important.
They're there.
Noted.
They're there. They've got their company pages set up. They've established their company profile and brand on the platform.
Yeah.
Secondly is that if I just pop content aside for 1 second, because that's really the biggest piece on this, but another very important piece is they know who they want to talk to.
Yeah.
So this is the sort of misconception, I suppose, about the opportunity for B2C brands on the platform is that, well, they're not, LinkedIn isn't mass, so to speak.
Yeah.
Maybe we're not mass, but we have a wealth of first-party data that lets us be so granular and really hone in on those specific buyers, essentially, that will actually make the most make the most impact to your business and the bottom line. So, for example, a B2C client that I'm working with quite frequently is Cartier. And, we do some really cool initiatives with them on the platform. What they love about the platform is it connects them directly to people who not only have an intent to sort of engage with their content because we've filtered their campaigns looking at, people that have affinity for luxury goods. So based on member interests and behaviors, but also that they know that these members have actually got the net worth to be able to purchase products too. Yeah. Now, that's not just Cartier specific, but if we look at our B2C sort of audience profiles and behaviors, we know that when people spend more time on LinkedIn, they're actually more likely to make a purchase than any other social media platform.
Hey guys, if you are listening on Spotify, do not forget to give us a 5-star rating. It will help us to reach more people.
We also know that LinkedIn, as an average, our member has a higher net wealth than any other social media platform. So when you pair that intent with that actual propensity and ability to spend, you have a really good consumer there, right?
Yeah.
So it's totally viable to go after in terms of your profiling when you're trying to target these audience groups. Yeah. And I think, again, the misconception is, well, absolutely, we are predominantly a B2B platform. Yeah. But behind each of those businesses are individuals who think, feel, they are humans. And so let's talk to them about their own purchasing behaviors and decision-making for their own personal lives as well. So we're there. You and I are both on the platform, right?
Totally.
We don't just work when we're on the platform. We also live. Yeah. And so B2C opportunities can absolutely engage viable audiences by sort of the profiling and the targeting that we can do.
Totally. I mean, I think it's the same conversation as work-life balance.
That's it.
Right? Like, I hate the term. I think that work-life balance is so different for so many different people. Yeah. You know, there might be a friend of mine who has 2 kids and her idea of work-life balance is not working 5 days a week. It's working 3 days a week, working hard for those 3 days and then having 2 days fully off. Yeah. As a business owner, there's no fucking such thing. Yeah. I'll be really honest with you. Like, I work 7 days. Yeah. I'm on my computer every day. But I love it. I'm not complaining about it. Like, I'm building a life that I want, and I'm building a team that I want, and I'm building a culture that I want. So I think it's so different, and I think it's the same. Like, at the end of the day, everyone's experiencing the same thing, but just differently. And I think to that point as well, for me, I feel like LinkedIn has qualified leads.
Yeah.
Like, the people that I'm engaging with on LinkedIn are in that mindset of being like, I want to know what these people are doing. If they're scrolling through content, they want to be learning. They want to be seeing this content. Exactly. They want to be engaging with it. Yeah. You know, I think, with your Instagrams or your TikToks, for example, or YouTube, a lot of people are looking for that entertainment factor.
Totally.
Not so much, I feel like, yes, they're looking for content that they can relate with or relate to. But with LinkedIn, for me, I feel like I've already got almost like, they're justified leads already. Yeah. They're people that are other people, as you said, like, you're able to distill it down to net worth or like, how much they're earning or, what role they have. Are they interested in those things? Yes
how
or no?
How long have they been working for? What are their functions within those companies? There's so many data points that we can go off of. It can become a bit overwhelming, I'm not going to lie, but yeah, absolutely. It can be totally relevant. I think going back to your question as well, what are some of the things that both B2B and B2C brands do when they're successful on the platform? Yeah. The clients that I work with and the clients that we work with in general that are really successful on the platform, I believe are the ones that are really optimizing and creating content for that sort of collective community feel. They're going for the collective confidence, if you will, over the click. Yeah. So if you're only ever creating content because you want it to be clicked on, it's not going to be engaged with as highly or resonated with as well as content that builds confidence or collective confidence and really sort of instills trust and validity and value to an audience. So B2B, B2C, doesn't matter. As long as they are sort of being really clear on their customer promise and, like I say, that collective confidence piece over clicks, they can be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think going back to your point around thought leaders, one of the things we get all the time is, Hayley, I want to be on a podcast. I want to be speaking on those panels. Like, I want to be a thought leader in the space. And my immediate question to them is, where are you currently putting your thoughts? Yeah. And it's like tumbleweed 9 times out of 10. Like, I get just this like crickets. It's like, well, I'm not. And I'm like, you have to have thoughts and you have to have opinions in order to be a thought or opinion leader.
Totally.
Now, in terms of how people showcase that on LinkedIn, like when I share my thoughts and opinions, I'm not scared of sharing my thoughts and opinions. That's me personally. But there are a lot of people that want to be thought leaders that are scared of putting their full thoughts and opinions out there.
Yeah.
Is there any pieces of advice that you can give that you've seen work where someone's perhaps not as confident or just starting out in their thought leadership or opinion leader journey in terms of kind of getting the ball rolling other than just starting?
I think, obviously just starting is the first step. That definitely helps. And it is that sort of just getting through that imposter syndrome. I love that term.
Oh, so do I.
It's
I'm going to
so
reuse
good,
that,
isn't it?
So often.
It is so good. But I think, get involved in conversations to start off with, whether that just feels as much as liking somebody's post or comment as well, or replying to a comment on a thread or an article or whatever it may be. Reshare other people's content. Yeah. That's how I started, because I didn't feel super confident to start off with either. I wasn't just like, yes, because I work for LinkedIn, I'm automatically a thought leader. I know everything that I'm talking about and this is how I'm going to create my content. No, I had no idea. So I was just sort of like, I know how to tell my clients how to do it, but for my own individual self, I was like, oh, this feels different and a lot. And so I started out small by sharing articles that I found interesting. Yeah. And that maybe I could share a piece of information on or an insight on as well. So it felt relevant. I wasn't just sharing it for the sake of sharing it. Yeah. I wasn't just sharing company updates because I'm employed by that company. Yeah. I really wanted to make sure that when I was sharing, I aligned with the content and the message that was going out with it. On the flip side, you could share something that you completely don't align with and be like, I categorically do not align with this. Yeah. What are your thoughts? Yeah. So start asking questions to your audience as well. Yeah. We've got polls that you can do that just feel smaller. You don't have to just go and write this huge post or this huge article. I think just be present, active, engage, and start getting involved in the conversations that matter most to you.
Absolutely. I think I couldn't agree more. I think one of the things that we say that if you're a huge introvert and you're wanting to be on LinkedIn, just start by adding valuable comments. And valuable comments are not just being like, yes, I agree. Like add your opinion to that thought or that opinion that has been presented above. Now, there are times that I will get on LinkedIn and I will wake up and choose violence and be like, who can I piss off today? Because I know that reactions
we love
comments,
people like you.
The reactions and comments that I get, I'm going to get that engagement, and it means it's going to be more eyeballs.
We wouldn't suggest doing that. We would suggest it's valuable. And
well, look, I think I'm not going out there with like an opinion that is going to be disagreed with, right? Like, I think at the end of the day, like, I have an opinion on certain things that I know that there's quite a lot of people that don't. Now, I had one person who commented on something of mine, and you have your LinkedIn headline, right, which is like not just your job title 9 times out of 10. It's like
a bit about you.
It's like a tiny little spiel about you. Yeah. And this guy commented and he was like, wow, I find it so fascinating the titles people give themselves, which was so ironic because his headline was retired. That's all it said. So all I responded is like, that's rich coming from you, Mr. Retired.
Okay, yeah.
And all of these people then started weighing in, being like, you can't speak to people like that on the platform. Then these other people being like, she's literally just stating the obvious. So I think like where you can generate that conversation where there is going to be a natural contest of thought or contest of opinion, for me, I love, because I'm like, I love seeing other people's opinions. If someone has an opinion that's different to mine, it doesn't mean that they're wrong.
No, it's just a different perspective.
It's just different. They might have different life experiences. They might have a, different experience with what I'm talking about. Like, if I sit here being like, hey, there are 2 types of women in the workforce, women that support you and women that are intimidated by you. That's my opinion. That's my experience.
Yeah.
If someone else has had a really different experience, that doesn't mean that I'm wrong. And I think the sooner people can come to terms with the fact that just because you put your opinion out there and someone disagrees with you, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're wrong.
It doesn't mean that you're wrong. I think the only thing I would caution on that is obviously with my professional head is now
like,
on.
Haley, don't encourage people to fight on my platform.
Stop this. Cut this now. Cut it now. But I would say, back to my original point, make sure what you're posting is valuable. Yeah. And enriched in knowledge.
Absolutely.
So 100% you are your own wonderful self with your own wonderful thoughts and opinions. But I would say make sure that those are opinions that are going to sort of still be enriched in some form of knowledge point as well. So you've you've formed an opinion based on the learnings that you've undertaken or the literature that you've read or whatever it may be. So it feels like it's at least grounded in something rather than just we don't want keyboard warriors, essentially. No. But that's not what I'm saying you're doing, so don't worry.
I'm not a keyboard warrior, I promise.
Blocked from LinkedIn forever.
Yeah, you find that I'm like blocked tomorrow.
She tries to log on. She can't.
Guys,
I've been banned. It's gone. It was really nice having you as a member. So I think, I'd always caution to that. But the other thing that you can start thinking about, and you may have already done this, is one of the new profile features that we've recently-ish. I say recently because time is going so fast and I have no idea when recently is anymore. But something that is a feature that might be interesting to people is creator mode.
Yes.
Yes, you're on it. Okay,
familiar.
Great.
Love it.
So creator mode will enable you. So this is maybe something for the people that want to start out as thought leaders and understand what they can and should share. But creator mode will essentially enable you to even add value to articles. So it invites you to add your opinion or factual opinion, should I say, onto the articles and give your weigh in on it too. So you might have been invited to contribute to a couple of articles. And I think that's a really nice way of sort of easing or bridging the gap into sharing your knowledge on the platform without having to feel like you're beating your own chest and really giving out this big bravado, because ultimately that content might not be authentic to you, so it wouldn't work. So share it via the articles and start building it in that way. And then use creator mode as well when you are sort of at that stage where you want to build out content, to understand your analytics. What did people resonate with? What was engaged with? Was there a time of day that worked best for me? Because there is no time that we would say this time is the golden time to work. It's totally based on your audience and your followers. So
I love that you've said that, because it's honestly one of the biggest questions that we get is like, when is the best time to post on social media? And I'm like, honestly, that would be like, when's the best time to go to Woolworths? If it was the best time, it wouldn't be the best time because everyone would be there.
It'd be saturated.
Totally.
Exactly.
So I love that you've said that. Now, you spoke before about brand profiles and, you know, you've obviously got individual profiles on LinkedIn and then you also have business profiles or brand profiles.
Yeah.
One question that we get a lot off is it worth investing in growing that brand or business profile?
Yes.
Or, short answer, yes.
Done.
But if, like, I'll preface it with how we typically approach it with clients is we go, yes, having a presence on your brand profile, super important.
Yeah.
But the thing that people are going to resonate with more is going to be your personal brand, like your personal page, because they're looking at a picture of a person as opposed to a picture of a logo.
Yeah.
When they're engaging with that content. So we try and always do like a two-pronged approach when it comes to a strategy is getting content up on your business profile. Absolutely. Because it proves that you're a business. It proves that you're legit. There's, you know, evidence there that the operation that you're running exists.
Yeah.
But in order to grow that like knowability, likability, trustability, having a separate strategy of building out individuals within your organization is also really important. What's your view on like businesses that are growing their business profile versus individual profiles within that organization?
I think the two should absolutely coexist. So I think that you should put time and effort into both. I think it all ties back into the brand DNA piece, right? So you need to make sure that as a business owner for you, for example, you need to make sure that your content has the same look and feel that your company content does, or it's obvious that you're an employee or owner of that business or that company. So I think it needs to make sure that it inherently works on a company basis and does still fuel into the company profile, because at the end of the day, the company is what is going to be the one that's measured on this success. That being said, the success of the company can also be increased, I suppose, or enhanced by employee advocacy.
Yeah.
So I think they're both equally as important. I think I said earlier, you know, word of mouth is still reigning strong in terms of marketing as, you know, the source of the best practice in terms of recommendations and whatever it may be. And so essentially by encouraging your employees to post and get involved in conversations, this is a way of amplifying that reach and utilizing word of mouth, but on LinkedIn. So I think the two are both important to your strategy. What I will say is that not every employee always wants to post. And that's okay, because this is the difficulty or beauty of LinkedIn, is that it does straddle that sort of professional, personal. And so if a company tells you you've got to post something, you might be childish like me and go, no.
Yeah.
I don't want to be told what to do.
Don't tell me
No.
what to do.
But if I'm bought into, your vision, your mission, I know what we're doing, how we're advancing as a company, I'm more likely to sort of speak on your behalf or want to share the story that's behind the business. We've also seen that CEOs or senior leadership that start to post on LinkedIn really then can set the tone and standard for the rest of the company. So if your CEO and your leadership team are posting, the rest of the company is more likely to follow suit. So it's important, I guess, from that sort of C-suite level to be engaging, to set a standard. So when a company has employee advocacy in terms of its C-suite, so you've got your CEOs and your leadership teams posting, individuals and members are more likely to positively favour a company by around 81% when they've seen the C-suite engaging in content. And they're 77 more times likely, or 77%, sorry, not more times, that'd be amazing, but 77% more likely to then buy from that company as well. So having those individual employee or senior leadership posts going out there really only aids the overall business measurement and success too.
Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, we see it in my business.
Yeah.
I see it with businesses that we help, but I like that you've talked about the fact that it has to come from the top down.
Yes.
Because, we work with CEOs and leaders of businesses that are like, my team should be posting on LinkedIn. I'm like, well, are you?
Yeah, set the tone.
Like, I would never ask my team, like I very, very commonly.
They're listening now like, lies, you do.
Yeah, no. I've got Laura sitting over here and she's just like, no. Yeah. But no, I frequently say to them, like, I did all of your jobs before you started.
Yeah.
Like, I've done everything before you've come on board. So know that I've got my hands dirty before you turned up. So I'm like, I get your job. I understand what it is that you do. I've hired you because you're great at what you do or you're an expert at what you do. And I don't have the time to be doing all of these different things. But I think that it's so important to anything that I ask of my team or I ask of my clients, I would be happy doing myself. Yeah. So am I going to sit here being like, you should post 10 TikToks a week? Absolutely not, because I can't post as a personal brand 10 TikToks a week. Yeah. But if I ask my team to post once a week on LinkedIn and they all know that they've got a commitment to do that, if I can do 2 or 3 posts a week, then I'm setting that standard for them to be like, well, if Hayley can do 2 or 3 times a week, we can do 1.
Yeah, as long as it's relevant.
Totally.
So I think that's the thing, and I think that's the thing that businesses struggle with is kind of asking versus telling when it comes to content posting on LinkedIn. You don't want to feel, because it is also your personal profile at the end of the day too. Yes, you are a company ambassador, I suppose, because it's on your profile, but you still are an individual at the end of the day with, your own stories and history and all of that stuff. And if it doesn't feel authentic to you to post, people might not want to. When you say post once a week, I might be like, that doesn't align with me. Yeah. And then you wouldn't want my brand DNA to be affected now, would you, Hayley?
No, absolutely not.
So it's one of those things. I think the key to that is creating a wealth of content, or a wealth maybe feels overwhelming, but creating content that's easily to be shared by these employees. Yeah. So are there things that you've been doing as a business, as a team, that they might be like, yeah, actually I do want to share this. This is great. Are there opportunities for the company as a profile to be sharing or heroing and highlighting their workforce? And then that individual can share it off the back of that. And it's like, that sort of really easy bridging the gap movement into posting content. But I think, make sure your employees are bought into your mission and vision. Yeah. Make sure you're communicating that with them, because then they will happily sit on podcasts and talk about your platform, because they believe in it. And it doesn't feel like it's unauthentic to me. It feels like, I'm happy to talk about this because I am aligned to it. Yeah. So I think that needs to be set in concrete first before you can even think about the content strategy behind it.
Totally. And I think when I say post once a week, that's not just on LinkedIn. So I have
somewhere.
some girls in the team that definitely lean towards TikTok or Instagram more. Yeah. And it's like, cool, create a TikTok. Like, talk about something that you want to talk about. I think that's really, we spoke about it in a Q&A episode recently where it comes back to who you're hiring, right? Like, at the end of the day, like, I hire people with the same values as me and the business. Like, I don't approve any of the content that goes up that they create for the business. I don't
you've got the
approve
trust.
any content that goes up on their LinkedIn because that's their own profile.
Yeah.
But I trust that I've hired somebody that has a very similar value set to me and the business. So I think that for me, when businesses don't trust you to post, to talk about what you do within the organization, it's because they're worried that your values don't align.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's where I see it is like, you know, I've worked with businesses that have told me that I can't post on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I look back on it now and I'm like, wow, that was such a toxic workplace that they were scared that I was going to say something that perhaps wasn't what they wanted me to share.
Yeah.
Or wasn't an experience that they wanted me to share. Now, you said before, I think that I really want to focus on that quickly, is like LinkedIn, their pages, ultimately it's their personal page.
Yes.
So we can't force them to do anything, right?
No.
Most of my team, when they started, they were like, I want to get better at LinkedIn. Cool. Great.
Easy.
We can set some goals around that,
But
right?
some companies obviously won't
But some
have that.
companies
Yeah.
won't. Now, I've had a instance with a friend recently that works for somebody that has started telling her what she can and can't post on her Instagram.
Yeah.
Where do you sit on that? Like professionally, but also like as, you know, from a LinkedIn point of view, but then also from a personal point of view?
I think from a LinkedIn perspective, I would say it would probably align with my personal perspective, is that don't push something that doesn't feel intrinsic to that individual.
Yeah.
We're all about celebrating members, their milestones and those sorts of things. And so if it doesn't feel like it aligns with you, essentially it's not going to be content that's of high quality, not going to be prioritized by the algorithm anyway. So was there any point to it?
Yeah.
Just for the sake of posting.
Yeah.
Again, it's building that collective confidence, right? And that starts within your teams as well, not just on the content. But if you're only aiming to get clicks on the content from your employees' content, then you're misled. You know, you really need to be thinking about the purpose of this. And I think there's a huge opportunity for employers on the platform to think about their employer brand. It's not just enough anymore to be a household name and expect people to be like, oh my God, I want to work with this company because I know this company. If anything, the companies now, we know too much about some companies, right? Or maybe not the right things, should I say. And so I think companies have a job to do in attracting high quality candidates that are going to align with their mission and vision like you've been doing. But by putting out content there that will start capturing and engaging these individuals on their journey before they even know they're a candidate.
Yes.
Right? So you need to start talking to them before they're in a headspace of, I've got to leave this company because I hate it.
100%.
Talk to them before. Start creating content that says, you know, did you know X, Y, Z? And they're like, oh, no, I didn't. That's interesting. Yeah. Here's some of the cool things we've been doing. Oh, that's another interesting point. So build that curiosity, you know, really have those consideration pieces of content that are going to speak to individuals, that build out more about your employer brand than they're ever going to know just from Googling, I suppose, or searching or whatever you may be looking at. But here are your individuals. You know, if you know that you've got a gap in your team, again, it might be a marketing role. Start speaking about some of the cool things your marketing team have been working on.
Yeah.
Entice me that way. So I know that these are cool projects, these are cool people, these are things that I align with, and go above and beyond the usual, you know, this is your salary, these are your sort of perks. Speak more to the credentials of the business.
Yeah.
And that's the way in which you're probably going to have people that want to post more as an employee advocate because they're already bought into the mission and vision.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of comes back to what we spoke about in that, like in the live episode, right? Where, you know, people are buying into the brand personality more than anything else, right? And I find it so funny that people haven't kind of put two and two together, where it's like, you know, businesses will spend millions of dollars defining their brand DNA and their brand personality to make their brand more human.
Yeah.
But won't invest time or money or energy into amplifying the humans that they already have within their organization.
Yeah.
Which blows my mind.
Yeah.
And so for me, like creating that brand personality, like I cannot tell you, since we started, you know, sharing content across LinkedIn, Instagram and TikTok of the team and like what we do, like the girls posted a video the other day on TikTok and I just landed from...
Oh my God, I saw that. That made me laugh so much.
I literally was in my like airport fit. My hair was slicked back. I was like, had just come off a flight, an overnight flight for that matter. I literally had to be in the office for the day and then I was going to go home and crash. And I cannot tell you the content that we share that's behind the scenes that then leads to an influx of people like, are you hiring?
Absolutely.
And it has nothing to do with the work that we're doing.
Absolutely. It has to be above and beyond that and speak to that level, like I say, that you can't just search for yourself. It has to come from the people within the business and be fueled from their experiences within the business. So, do a day in the life of something like that will just really entice potential future candidates and start thinking about ways in which you can kind of engage with them that is more than just the job description.
Yeah.
I think as well, companies that are doing it well, again, from a talent perspective and sort of engaging future talent, is when they're sharing or upskilling individuals. So AWS did a really cool talent campaign a little while ago now, but they were hiring for some roles, or they wanted to promote a unit of business where they were sort of growing. And instead of being like, hey, we're hiring, this is a role. And obviously everybody knows Amazon as well, right? So they've got a good brand, but they didn't know anything about the teams or the working. So they did some content on that. But what they also did was they did an interview series on how to get hired. So they put tips and tricks in on how to nail your interview, and all the types of different content were all surrounded about just sort of the interview experience and process. Now, that didn't necessarily mean that people were going to apply to the jobs with them, because it was just upskilling them for all potential future interviews, right? But the engagement that they had off the back of that, the positive affinity that was then associated with AWS in the terms of candidate hiring experiences was tenfold, because the content was absolutely there to give them some form of value and give them access to something that they couldn't just find themselves. So do days in the lives of, but do value exchanges as well.
Yeah, I love that. Now, focusing on clients and who's doing it well.
Yeah.
Like, what are some clients that are absolutely nailing it on LinkedIn?
I said this on the live episode, but I still really just love this brand. So Canva for me are just really doing well. And I think the reason that they do so well is because they know their audience. They know their brand DNA as well. And they know how to create content that has fun, creative flair, really has the same look and feel and is synonymous across the board, but individually calls out their audience groups. They're not afraid to take creative risks. They utilize video. They diversify their formats. You're never bored when you're coming into contact with some of their content. Yeah. And so I think because of that, and of course they're local, so Australian, wonderful. We love that. But they are a success story and they're growing from strength to strength. But I think they're really clear on their promise to their customers. So regardless of me, who just loves going on Canva to create, I create everything on there. I love it. Yeah. They've really got me. It's the Virgo in me. Invites, menus, Christmas cards. I'm talking everything. I love it. Yeah. So whether they're marketing to me or they're marketing on a business to business capacity, everything still has fun to it, creativity to it. They're evoking emotions within us, regardless of what stage of the customer journey we're at too. So I would definitely look at their content and see what they're doing, because they are doing a really good job.
I love that. Now, before we get to our quick fire questions, which are at the end of the episode, which I know you know because we've done the live podcast before, I have a question. It's more just a selfish question. You've been at LinkedIn for 3 years. I think if I didn't own my own business, I would want to work at LinkedIn. Yeah. What do you love about working there?
The food. No, I'm joking. It's not. That helps. But no, it's, you know what it is? I think you can probably tell from the way that I talk about it. I am really aligned to their vision and their mission. Yeah. They want to create equitable global opportunities for everyone. They really want to have this platform that's enriched in learning, knowledge sharing, whatever it may be. And so categorically, number one, I'm aligning to what they want to do in the greater scheme of the world. So global economic opportunities everywhere. Love that. And I think that's really important. I want to make sure I'm working for a brand or a company that's important to my values and my core. One of the sayings or one of the pillars at work that we have is dream big, have fun, and get things done. And I love that. Yeah. I really love that, because I think it allows you to, yes, I am employed to do a role, but then I also get to come and do things like this. I get to say, I want to go and do a panel event, and they're like, great. And they really support me and aid my growth. And I think for me as an individual, knowing that I can be upskilled in an environment that supports me and is celebrating me and celebrating my uniqueness as well, and everybody's uniqueness within the business, not just me, is really wonderful. And you end up getting these really cool people that you can learn from, different opportunities. So we've got multiple ERGs as well within the company. So I am on the Women at LinkedIn community, which I love. We are currently working on a speaker series. We've got external speakers coming in to talk about anything from finance. Next week, we're doing a panel on fertility. And I really love that my workplace supports future-proofing my fertility.
Yeah.
Like, how cool is that? Or allowing me to have conversations around that anyway, right? And I think that's super important to sort of go above and beyond. And that's nothing that I'm going to find on a job description, all of those things that I've just told you.
Yeah.
So I never thought when I clicked apply to the role that I was going to be drinking the Kool-Aid quite as much as I'm doing. I was always like, oh, that's not for me. I'm sure it's going to be good. But honestly, it's just, I really am bought into what they're doing, and I'm really sort of fueled by the growth opportunities they're providing me with as well.
I love that. I mean, I've not drunk the Kool-Aid, but I have.
Here you go.
like I don't work there, but I think the exposure that I have had to the team at LinkedIn, like I said,
cool
if I wasn't doing my own thing, I would definitely be there. And I say it almost every time I see them because I'm like, it's just so cool. And every single engagement that I've had with somebody at LinkedIn has been like happy, fun.
Oh my God,
positive.
I know.
Like there's never been like a negative, even though it's been a difficult conversation, or perhaps there's been like, whatever the context of that conversation is. It doesn't have to always be like positive or happy, but it's always just been super helpful.
Totally. We know how to have conversations. I think that's extremely important. Yeah. It did, I will say, unnerve me when I first arrived. I was like, why is everyone so nice?
Totally.
This has to be a catch. But actually they hire well, to your point. They really make sure people align with the business and are going to fuel its growth and their growth too.
I couldn't agree more. Last question before we get to quickfire.
Yeah.
What's in store? What can I be excited about from a LinkedIn user point of view that's coming up?
Yep. So we are constantly making changes. There's always things. I'm sure there's a product that's just been released now since we've been recording this because they are constantly evolving to meet the needs of the members, whether that's from talent, sales, learning, or marketing opportunities. I think the things to watch out for are for our LinkedIn premium users. Yes. There's going to be a lot more AI. We really are embracing AI, which I think is amazing. So, for example, it's going to help you be able to fill out your profile more succinctly. It's going to be more intuitive in terms of your skills based on your experience, which is so helpful because people are sort of taking more of a skills-first approach when it comes to hiring. And so making sure that that's populated is definitely important. But sometimes it can be hard to be like, I don't know my skills. You should know them, but you know how it feels. You sometimes are a bit overwhelmed.
People hate writing their
about
own
themselves.
Introductions.
Well, exactly. So it will do your bio for you as well. It will give you some suggestions. And what I will say to that is have them as suggestions. Add in your personality as well, right? Because I think that's super important. But we're embracing AI, and now we can even create posts on the platform. You can tell LinkedIn to do it for you essentially. So you can say, hey, I want to create a post on B2B marketing. These are my key 3 points. Make that into a post, and it can write that for you. Again, caution with that because I love AI. I'm here for it. But it doesn't have the heartbeat that I do. And so I want to overlay my personality to that, give it my own creative flair, make sure that it's intrinsic to me and my values. So use it as a structure, use it as the bare bones, but make sure you put your own personality on front of it too.
Yeah. I mean, I talk about it all the time with ChatGPT, right? Like,
love that thing.
I'm all for ChatGPT. Like as a business owner, it helps me overcome a lot of, I suppose, that dwell time where I'm like thinking about how to start something, how to articulate something. Yeah. So I put it in there. But by no means do I copy and paste it and then press send.
Can't. No, we're not quite there yet. And, I don't know if we ever will be, but I think still embrace it in terms of your efficiencies and ease of use. So that is, for the premium side of things, something to really get involved with. And then thought leader ads, other formats that we're really seeing increase. Live event ads are on the way. There's a whole wealth of products that are coming out to sort of aid your content creation journey. So lots to think about, lots to consider.
Amazing. I love it. Now, quick fire questions. I know you know these, but we're going to try and hopefully generate some answers that you didn't give me on the live podcast.
That answers my first question.
Name one brand that first comes to mind.
LinkedIn. I did say that last time.
Not LinkedIn.
Oh,
and not Canva, because you said that on the live episode.
yeah, I'm going to say Cartier again. I really love what they're doing. They're really digitally innovative. They utilize their content across platform, print, outdoor, and their look and feel is really intrinsic to them. Another brand that I'm actually loving, sorry, now I've said this, I also love Cartier, but a brand recently in the last few weeks that is just, for me, phenomenal standout, Loewe. Have you seen their campaigns?
Yep.
Love it.
Yep.
They are really infusing humor with luxury, which is a space that we've not really seen before.
No.
And I think the whole sort of sketch or comedy sketch or whatever it is between Dan Levy and Audrey Plaza is just sensational. It really brings tongue in cheek into the luxury space, which has not really been explored, but it also really humanizes the brand. And again, it makes it authentic. So I think I love what Cartier are doing from a strategic point of view. I love what Loewe have been doing from humanizing their brand and being top of mind. Look what I just did there.
Wow.
You're so welcome.
Snip that. What is one thing that you think that helps keeps a business or a brand or an individual top of mind?
Authenticity, 100%. I think I've said that word maybe 1,000 times since I've sat in this chair.
Love it.
But I think if you haven't...
Be a drinking game.
Yes, it could be. We'll clip that and we'll play it. I think having your content go out that is really intrinsic to you as an individual is just so key, because if it doesn't feel like it is from the individual, if it feels automated, if it feels robotic, that's not going to get anywhere. So I think that's the key thing, is just make sure all content, all outward communications is enriched in authenticity.
Love it. And what is a quote that is always top of mind for you?
Okay, well, you know, face it till you ace it.
Which I love. Episode 3.
The episode 3, check it out. So my other quote that I live by is more of a saying, I suppose, in the sense of you can't kind of quote it, but I do say it about 5 times a day minimum, and it's thank you more please.
Yeah.
And thank you more please is the mentality that I'm trying to operate with at the moment. So you know how it is when you have a really bad day, a car, you know, you're like, I'm having a really terrible day, a car drives past you and splashes you and you're like, oh, see, it's because I'm having a bad day. Or you do a post and it bombs, oh, because of the algorithm, it's terrible. You know, you can really blame it, and it's really easy for the brain to create those negative sort of connections via the synapses. So a way to retrain your brain is by looking for the positives instead. So for example, I have a really positive interaction in the Uber on the way here. As I get out of the Uber, I'm just like, thank you more, please.
Yeah.
The driver probably thinks I'm insane. That's fine. But, you know, I'm saying it more to myself than anything. And then what it does is it encourages my brain to then look out for, well, what's the next moment going to be that has that thank you more please mantra behind it. And I've noticed since I've been employing that, I've been more opportunities have come my way. I've been having more fruitful conversations. Yeah. So whether this is actually happening or I'm just noticing it more because I've tuned my brain to look out for it, thank you more please. Doesn't matter. I'll take that.
I love that. I love that. I think it's quite similar to mine, which is like, if it was easy, everyone would do it. And it reminds me that it's like, no, these difficult things are part of the process.
Totally.
Right. And I think that it's that same of like retraining your brain to look at something in a different way.
Just step out of yourself and give yourself a different perspective, because we can get so insular and be like, oh, this is so hard or everyone can do it or what. No, change the narrative.
I love that. I have a friend that says zoom out, Hayley.
Yeah.
And it's like taking your problem and zoom out from it and see it in, you know, the bigger world context.
Totally.
And it's just a really nice reminder to be like, you know what, we're dealing with first world problems here.
Yeah. And it's all measurable as well, right? Control what you can control.
Yeah.
Don't get overwhelmed by the things that are just distinctly not within your control.
Yeah.
And the ones that you can control, when they work well, thank you more, please.
Yeah.
So
thank you more, please.
There you go.
I love it. I love it. Kathryn, thank you so much for joining me today. I've learned so much. I'm still going to try and get somebody who can talk about the algorithm.
No, you're blocked now, remember?
Yeah. So if I go missing tomorrow, LinkedIn has me.
Don't come for me.
They have me captive. Thank you so much for sharing everything that you've shared, but also your own personal thoughts about it, because I know that it can be really hard when you do work for a business, but it's just proof that, you know, your values and your beliefs are very similar to your workplaces. And I think that not only is that credit to LinkedIn, obviously, for allowing you to come and talk to us today and for hiring you, but also credit to yourself, because you obviously, you know, can back yourself in the confidence that you have in your own experiences to be able to talk about these things. So thank you so much for joining me today.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
One last thing from me. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love if you could leave us a review or hit the subscribe button wherever you are listening or watching this podcast.